car's performance is looking strong compared to our rivals at the moment. Check it out, and we'll review it in more detail later.
Cheers for that, Chris. Thank you very much. So we get a little notification there about the Mclaren Honda and how we are progressing compared to our rivals, of which Sauber have come nowhere close, and Toro Rosso and Haas much higher. And then to my surprise, we got a nice little sponsor bonus. So sponsor bonus for the home Grand Prix. Clearly, I've impressed someone to give me some more points after, you know, our good results earlier on in the season, and what we performed in Austria, getting 2 more points for the team. So that bumped us up to nearly 1,600 resource points there, which meant I was able to tackle some more upgrades. So I had a look at the second upgrade for durability of the internal combustion engine, because if you get 3 of those, there's a little shortcut across to the power upgrade, so actually get you like a major powertrain upgrade. So I had a little look at that one, and then cross over on the powertrain and go up to the crankshaft upgrade, which is 900 resource points. Like I said, this one recorded before the patch went live to fix the powertrain issues, or powertrain bug rather, for the McLaren Honda.
Morning and welcome from Silverstone for today's practice session. I hope the crowd streaming in through the gates have brought their umbrellas. Guess what? It's tipping it down here today.
British Grand Prix weekend, so why not get some lovely British rain for the British driver out in the British team of McLaren. So we did the track acclimatisation in the rain because, you know what, why not? I figured embrace it. That was, of course, the only practice program that I did in the wet, 'cause it's meant to be dry the rest of the weekend. So here we go, tyre wear test coming around the final chicane. Jobs are good, nicely into the purple, just about getting the lap time, but that is 50 more resource points bagged. Fuel saving test was pretty hard around here actually. I just about, you can see here, eke it across. I'm using a lot of fuel, just ease it off and able to get it just into the green there for 30 resource points. Race strategy, I don't understand how people can fail this, honestly. 50 resource points in the bag as we cross the line. Jobs are good. And then of course we'll move on to the final couple of programs in the next part of practice. It got to the point there where it was a bit of a struggle, so I've swapped everything over to the third part now in the column. Of course the internal combustion engine has been in for a race or so, so that's going to have quite a bit of wear on it, but all the other parts are fairly new. So we now come to practice 3, doing the qualifying pace program, nearly a second up. We crossed the line. It was, annoyingly enough, only the green target, and the team wanted about another half second for the purple time.
Hi, just letting you know that we've had the team's expectations through for the upcoming qualifying session.
So as always, it's now qualifying 16th. They want us to beat another car and beat our rival Pascal Wehrlein in qualifying. So I suppose we'll see how it goes as we now look to do our one and only lap of the British Grand Prix circuit. I did try a second run, but it wasn't as good. So here we go, maximum attack now, lowest fuel possible. It's the fastest the car is going to be all weekend. Maximum attack through turn 1, not even thinking about lifting, as we now cut to the Wellington straight, just over 29 seconds for the fastest first sector. Daniel Ricciardo there, 30.7, immediately smashed by Kimi Räikkönen, who does a 29.7 there in Copse Corner, the old turn 1, completely flat in the McLaren Honda. The car absolutely glued to the road, and here we're going to come through the Maggot and Beckett's complex. Just the change of direction at such a high speed, unbelievable. We get Chapel a little bit wrong though, as we put the front left tyre on the grass. That's going to slow us down and compromise us even more than the Honda engine does down the straight. And we come through the final corner, got the chicane a little bit wrong, not getting the best run through there, taking a bit too much curves. We come around the final corner of Club, across the line, and it's a 31.9. It's just under a 132, but it certainly wasn't the best run. As we're going to come down, we failed our objective, but we were best of the rest. So we did. We went half second, near enough, quicker than Fernando Alonso, and then a big old gap, over a second, to Pascal Wehrlein. So even though we're 8/10 off the Renault, we're in an awkward spot of we're just slower than the midfield, but we're quicker than the cars behind us. So it's a bit of an awkward one, but you know, it's the British Grand Prix. It's the home weekend for me as a driver and the team. I'm hoping to put on a good performance in the race, try and see what we can do. Our car suits this circuit, a lot of long, fast, sweeping corners, and hopefully we can look to upset a few people in this weekend. But it's now time for my home race, the British Grand Prix.
With me today is a man who's no stranger to the thrills of Silverstone. He's a past winner here in sports cars, of course. It's our good friend Anthony Davidson. You seem particularly excited for this one, Ant. Is there something you want to tell me?
Oh, just looking forward to it, Crofty. It's always a very special atmosphere, and also I started karting in the late 1980s, and I was here for that epic race in 1986 with Mansell and Piquet fighting each other right here at my home Grand Prix. So coming back to Silverstone always means a lot, and looking at the crowd today, it's clear that none of that spirit has been lost. And also, we just have such a fantastic field this year, some very close competition and conditions that should make for some great racing. I can't wait.
With that then, let's run through the grid order. Kimi Räikkönen starts today from pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Ricciardo, Lance Stroll, and Massa, Vettel, Verstappen, Perez, and Roman Grosjean, Ocon, Magnussen, Daniel Kvyat, and Palmer, Sainz, Hülkenberg, a McLaren, and Fernando Alonso. Ericsson and Pascal Wehrlein completes the grid.
Okay, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but treat it like any other race. Don't take unnecessary risks.
Gonna have to disagree with you there, Jeff. I need to put on a show for these home fans. Learnt my lesson from Austria, where we ran the two-stop. When the times are similar together, you can see here the time for the two-stop is about 4 seconds slower than the one-stop. But Silverstone's got a long old pit lane, and I think the one-stop's going to be a better one. So we're going to stick with that. Try and use the super soft to get ourselves some early positions in the Grand Prix, and then just drag it out to the end and just keep plodding on, driving around, doing the laps that we got to do. Took a little bit of fuel out of the car because the team did overfuel me quite heavily for this one, but now we have 5 lights for the British Grand Prix. Lights are out, we dump the clutch and away we go. It's not the best getaway, unfortunately. The cars ahead get a solid one, but the cars behind not challenging me, so we've got a bit of space into turn 1. Can be pretty tight with the fast right-hander. We go wide to avoid any kind of contact. We push Hülkenberg wide, who then shoots right down the inside of us with that big old lunge that I've pretty much, made famous almost. Well, I wouldn't say made famous, but we're trying to go round him. Through turn 2, we get up on the curb, don't get the best run. We have got past the Renault driver, but Esteban Ocon now in the Force India going to come straight past us with that Mercedes power, and he gets us up into 12th place. We're going to stick it down the inside and coming up to Brooklands now through the left-hander. We swing through, cut him off on the exit so we can't get an undercut run into Luffield, and now we have to just swing the car around. So a good start from us, up from 17th into 12th position, and now we hopefully just got to try what we did in Austria to hang on to the pack ahead to see if we can cause any upsets. We cut a few laps later with DRS now active, lap 4. Nico Hülkenberg trying to set us up for a run. He's going to try around the outside of Brooklands, but he's not able to get far enough ahead, and we are managing just at the moment to stick to the group of cars ahead. It does look like there's a Williams acting once again as a cork in the bottle, similar to Austria. We can see here at the end of lap 4 as the group of cars are moving so slowly, we dive it down the inside of Kevin Magnussen up into 11th place, and that puts us now just out on the fringe of the points. As you can see Grosjean there in the Haas clearly performing quite well, but they're all just stuck behind one car by the looks of things. It looks as if one of the Red Bulls has made a break for him. There certainly is a Williams and a Ferrari out of place of Seb Vettel, who's clearly still down the order after his grid penalty that you would have seen as part of the grid rundown. But now we got Kevin Magnussen trying to attack us into turn 1. I look to go to the inside, but he's already there. We have to hold it round the outside, take it a bit wide as we use a bit of the runoff area, but we keep ahead of him in 11th place. And just at this point, it was imperative to try and keep up to the cars ahead of us. Cars started diving in the pits end of lap 6, so they're the guys that are going to be running the two-stop strategy. We, of course, on the one as Magnussen tries the outside of turn 1 through turn 2. He gives it a lift as the cars came so close together there. But yeah, a lot of the front runners, so you're going to be seeing your Mercedes and your Ferraris pitting fairly early for the two stops. We've jumped ahead of them, and we're now in 8th place at the start of lap 7. As lap 8 starts now, we're up to 5th place. Yellow flags up ahead. Consider that actually up to 4th now by the looks of things, as Raikkonen looked to drop down the order. There's a car pulled off at the side of the road. No overtaking allowed in this sector. That is the Ferrari of Kimi Räikkönen. So he is out of the British Grand Prix. That's unfortunate. He likes this circuit. I mean, who doesn't love the British Grand Prix, really? But we're still coming under attack from Kevin Magnussen as we defend into Brooklands once again. And the Haas driver now trying to get past. We are now officially losing time to the cars ahead of us, and the front tyres started to feel really bad, especially through the high-speed corners. They weren't biting as they were at the start of the Grand Prix, not getting that required mechanical grip to carry the maximum speed through there. So we're going to be coming into the pits, the end of this lap, as you can see, but not before Magnussen tries it round the outside of Stowe, but didn't have the balls to try such a courageous move. But here we come, diving into the pits now. Very slow pit lane, 37 miles an hour here, so we get it slowed down, completely skip, sort of like the final chicane and final corner almost. But we're in, the cars ahead of us, we're in. Grosjean and whoever he was behind, I believe he was battling Felipe Massa. But we're now coming in to fit the medium compound tyre to run to the end, so it's going to be a long old stint. Perez is able to get out just ahead of us there as we come in to fit, as I said, the white wall tyre. It's 2.4 from the McLaren boys, so decent stop, decent stop. Where's this going to feed us out? We need to bear in mind that a few of the cars around us have already made their pit stop. And of course the cars behind us, such as Hülkenberg and Magnussen, have also been released. So if they're also following the one stop, they'll be coming out near us, hopefully. And we can see here the pit stop has nearly put us into last as Palmer comes past us, but we dive it straight back down the inside of turn 3 and then through the loop. So we're not going to sit in last position. Don't want to upset the fans here at the British Grand Prix. So now we're out on the medium tyre, and we need to push as hard as we can, because like I said, the guys around us will be making their pit stop on the next lap. We get past Sainz, but unfortunately that car coming out of the pits is Kevin Magnussen, who was of course sitting behind us before the pit stop phase started, or before we pit at the end of lap 8. So Magnussen's made a couple of seconds on us there, which is pretty unfortunate. I don't think Hülkenberg has come in at this point, but now we're sitting in 17th after the pit stop has been made, and there's another car came in at the end of lap 12. So we're going to see it here as we defend from Palmer once again, going through the first sector. That is Nico Hülkenberg, and he's now well up the road from us. So unfortunately, it looks as if we've lost a lot of time, and go to show that we were really holding the guys up behind us here. So clearly this strategy, at the most part, not looking to be too good for us, especially as the cars ahead, like I said, they're on that medium tyre, and they're going to be running to the end of the Grand Prix, similar to ourselves. So yeah, not really too sure what to say at this point, other than get my head down, start pumping the laps in, and try and make the best of a bad situation. As we now cut later into lap 13, yellow flags once again through Maggots and Beckett. There's a car on the left, it's Nico Hülkenberg. He's out of the race. Very similar to Kimi Raikkonen off on the side of the road. No smoke, so I'm going to assume that must be some kind of electronic failure. No clear signs of like a proper engine blowout. As the virtual safety car ends, as we're most of the way down the Wellington straight. We've got a bit of a gap to Palmer. We've got Magnussen up ahead of us, and Magnussen's catching a big old train of cars there. And you got to wonder who that's going to be as more cars make a pit stop now. These are the guys that are coming in on their second pit stop. As you can see now, Lewis Hamilton down to 12th place. He's going to come out just ahead of us on the soft tyre, so he's made his second pit stop, and clearly the cars ahead that will be making pit stops. So you would assume that he wouldn't have to fight through him, but Mercedes have kind of awkwardly brought him out in a bit of traffic there. And we're just dragging Palmer along with us. He hasn't been really able to challenge for the most part here. As we cut to the end of lap 15, Hamilton's caught the back of the group ahead. That group's going really slowly. It looks as if it's headed by the Saubers. So clearly Ericsson or Wehrlein, who started on the soft, is still going round. And it's caused the group together. And look at the cars, they're going 3-4 wide into Stowe. We've got Hamilton going round the outside of Magnussen. There's a Toro Rosso in there by the looks of things, as Hamilton's going to make a move down the inside of Magnussen into the chicane. Ericsson's fully locked up, gone completely wide. We try and cut it under Magnussen if we could, but he positioned his car so I couldn't plant the power down, had to lift, and that's going to put us back into the clutches of Jolyon Palmer as we go to the inside to defend our line, as Magnussen has a go at Ericsson, who goes wide. We just managed to avoid him by taking a massive chunk of curb, and Bottas comes out of the pits into this whole scrap, and we dive it down the inside of him, slide through, just don't collect any damage off the Mercedes car. That was a lot of information to process over a few seconds there. You know, we started at the end of that lap at 14th, and we've now somehow managed to get up into P9. So now, a few laps ago, I was saying it was looking, you know, pretty sour for us and pretty bleak. But now, come lap 16, we're in the bottom of the points, and not all the cars have made their pit stops yet. It says we're still catching up to the back of Magnussen, who's being held up behind Pascal Wehrlein, who's still out on the soft tyre. Magnussen's going to pull out behind him now and have a go down the inside. Well, he's not even going to have to wait till the inside of Stowe. He's got him on the straight, Wehrlein still ahead of him there, but he's now going to be struggling on those worn soft tyres, and he still doesn't pit this lap, so now we're just losing bucket loads of time. We dive it down the inside of the Vale chicane, and that is us up into 8th place with more cars in the pit, so we're going to actually jump up here to 7th at this point now, as we get ahead of, I believe, Danny Kvyat was making a pit stop, and we've got Esteban Ocon in as well for soft tyres, so he's running that 2-stop strategy, and he is going to be just waltzing up behind us at the end of this race with the extra grip and extra rubber. But now we have to turn our attention to, of course, the Mercedes car of Valtteri Bottas, who is behind us now on a compound softer in arguably the best chassis, definitely the most powerful engine. He's going to breeze past us down the Wellington straight. No real point in fighting this one and costing myself too much time. I did get a little bit out of position, so I did lose a little bit of time through Brooklands there. But Bottas now ahead, and he's going to chase after Magnussen. Hopefully he would hold him up, but unfortunately it was not to be. Magnussen has unfortunately got us, and you're going to see him drive off into the distance. And now we're at the point where I mentioned earlier of Esteban Ocon on those super soft tyres has caught up to us. He's trying to go around the outside of turn 1 and through turn 2. Thinks better of it, thinking there might be a coming together. And really all we have to do here is weather the storm of him having the softer tyres and faster engine. But now we're going to come, he's going to have a look down the inside of Copse Corner here at the old turn 1. Ocon on the inside, we're going to have to hang it round. He's pushed us a little bit wide, unfortunately. We couldn't really turn anymore. We had to run out wide. I don't know if that was considered retaining the position on an unfair advantage, but the stewards didn't send me any kind of warning to give the position back, so all's fair there, I suppose, as Vettel now comes past us on a set of soft tyres, and we battle the Ferrari through turn 1 as Vettel had to lift, and that was a satisfying moment, being able to compete with the Ferrari mid-corner. It goes to show this McLaren, if it just had a better engine behind it, we would be more frequently in the points. I know recently we've been, scrapping for the low end points, but I'm thinking more sort of, up behind Red Bull battling for 5th and 6th. But now Vettel, of course, going to come down the inside of Brooklands. We cut to an outside shot, try and hold it round the outside of the Ferrari if we can. Unfortunately, he runs me out of road, and I couldn't quite duck it down the inside of Luffield there, unfortunately. So Vettel now gets us. He takes 7th place off of me. We are down to 8th and put back into the clutches of Esteban Ocon, who's going to be taking a look at us, but we don't allow him to run to the inside this time of Copse Corner. We defend aggressively, and that's actually going to stop his momentum and allow Carlos Sainz to come through. It put a bit of breathing room between us, though, so Ocon had to almost, collect his thoughts, get himself together, and have another run at us a few laps later. As it came to the end of the Grand Prix, telling Jeff to just shut up for the final few laps so I can focus on defending my position, because, the McLaren Honda, this circuit, you do need a bit of power around here. And we have found ourselves, I don't know how, because it looked so bleak earlier on, as I said, we found ourselves in 8th place. 4 World Championship points at stake, defending from a car with a much better engine and much fresher tyres, and of course softer tyres. And he tries round the outside of Copse. I unfortunately turned in a bit too early there. It actually hampered my momentum, and Ocon was able to get me all the way round the outside. So I ducked into the slipstream, using the superior chassis of the McLaren, carrying much more speed through Beckett's, and he left me the width of a Formula 1 car and a cigarette paper going into Chapel, and that's exactly what I took. We're going to see it here. I couldn't believe this, just the change of direction at this point, and I saw the gap, and there was no way I was not going to take that, especially after the switch in momentum through the first part of Beckett's, as we dived past the Force India, back up into 8th place, but we've got a bit of a train forming behind us here. We're now on to lap 23, and Carlos Sainz is going to try and have a go. He's on the medium tyre, so no tyre advantage, and of course Renault power in the Toro Rosso, so he's not able to get round us in Brooklands as we're getting into the dying moments here of the British Grand Prix. And I figured a better run through Luffield was needed, so I couldn't actually be attacked into Copse Corner. Thankfully I was able to get away with it that time around. But you see me at the end of the race, I hammered rich mix through this race, and you can see here the internal combustion engine's at 52%, so we're getting less power from that. The MG UK is worn, meaning that we're not getting as much effective use of rich mixture. It's not giving us as much of a boost, and it gets to the point now where we're at the end of lap 25, beginning of lap 26, final lap of the British Grand Prix, and now we've got a true test as Max Verstappen, who's clearly found himself out of position here in this race. Don't know what's gone on with his afternoon, but he now finds himself in 9th place in the Red Bull, and now he is going to be trying to take 8th place away from us here and deny us this 4 points. And quite frankly, this just I don't know how it's come about, but such a solid drive. You know, the fans are going to want to see me claw these points. We defend to the inside as we charge towards Brooklands now. Verstappen on the outside, not able to get too far ahead. We keep it down the inside, nice and controlled. Don't let him cut underneath us for coming into Luffield. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of leaving it in 4th gear, and the car wandered a little too wide to get a good exit. And Verstappen now is maybe going to take a look. Daniel Ricciardo shockingly wins the British Grand Prix, but Verstappen's going to have a look around the outside of Copse Corner. He lifts. He lifted. I've gone wide. The medium tyres are so worn out at this point, but Verstappen appeared to lift or whatever happened. He went wide, and that's now cost him. That's pretty much sealed it for us now. There's so much of a gap between the two cars. I don't know how that's happened, but Verstappen's dropped a good old second back. Clearly, if Ricciardo's won the race, something must have happened to his afternoon for him to be that far out of position. But we come down towards Stowe, slam it on the brakes, just guide it through nicely. We don't need to push hard anymore, as we're going to come through the final couple of corners. Verstappen still charging, trying to catch us, but it's too little, too late from Verstappen. I'm not too sure what happened in Copse, but we're going to bring it round Club and bring it home with the British Grand Prix for 8th place in the Mclaren Honda.
Who was your driver of the day?
Today, I'm going to give it to the McLaren driver. They pushed and pushed and found some fantastic performance. It was.
Thank you very much for that, Anthony Davidson. 17th to 8th on the one stop. So, yeah, I'll take those points. I'll take those points. Haas had a good one, you know, getting 5th and 7th. And then Ocon, unfortunately, finishing outside of the points. The one stop clearly dominant to the two stop here today. So we hold 11th in the championship. Magnussen did outscore us and now ties us on World Championship points, and we as a team are now clawing up behind Toro Rosso and Renault there. So that was it for the 10th round of the season. We do actually then jump onto our 3rd invitational event, and it's one of my personal favourite ones, because I'm always complaining that I have no power in the McLaren Honda. I know, sounding like a proper Fernando Alonso here, but what a transition from a car with no power to the fastest car of its generation, the Ferrari F2004, Michael Schumacher's Ferrari, in which they absolutely decimated the competition in that season, driving a now 13-year-old car, which still holds lap records to this day. It was so fast. The scream of the Ferrari V10 as we do this invitational event. This was a pursuit challenge, where all the cars that are ahead of you are slower than you. You've got 3 laps on a short circuit to catch them, and just look at this car. I'm just able to fling it into corners as we move there up to 4th at the start of the second lap, and just listening to that scream and all of the power. This car was very lively at its rear end. You had to keep it in check as we dive it down the inside of the 96 Williams, and you can see the opposite lot going in there. But what a joy to drive this car it was. It was just the change of direction, as this, you know, the 2004 was when they started to go towards almost like, it's been quoted as like the spaceship age of Formula 1 cars, where they started just all the downforce work, and especially with the 3-litre V10s, as we now at the final moment catch the 98 McLaren Mercedes. We scream up behind it, down the inside of the final corner, on the power, keep the rear end in check and charge towards the line. We actually, funnily enough, just ran out of fuel on the line. You can see there the car obviously is keeping at a very low speed at this post shot, and you can see it here, this little slow-mo. I'm out of fuel at this point, so they're gaining, and we got it by just that much. A tiny fraction we won that invitational event by. But yeah, that was good fun. You know, really motivational round of the career mode, actually. You know, getting 8th place at a track which, you know, a good engine can get you quite far, but thankfully the car was able to carry itself through the corners really well, and then just getting to drive one of my favourite Formula 1 cars ever, really. So no, this was a real fun one, and when I'm able to get points even before my upgrades take effect, then who knows what will happen after. But guys, thank you very much for watching. Do leave a like if you did enjoy, comment any feedback, and subscribe to be notified about the content coming to the channel. I will see you all next time.